Stardom 101. Stardom 101. Stardom 101.
Stardom 101.
It's the Stardom 101 Magazine Podcast.
Shining light on today's tastemakers
and innovators.
Kicking it with your host, Christopher Boykin.
It's the Stardom 101 Magazine Podcast.
Oh, yes, it's Stardom 101 Magazine Podcast here back on iHeartRadio. Thank you guys for tapping in. You know what we do. We do this each and every week. My sole purpose is to make sure we discover and put spotlight on the right people at the right time, doing the right things. And today I will not disappoint. I got a very, very, very special guest with me today. He goes by the name Knowbody, which I think is fine. We gotta dissect the name first of all. But what's up, bro? How you doing, man? What's going on with you, baby?
What's going on, man? I'm doing well. I can't call it. How are you?
Yeah, we blessed, man. We living, we blessed, we in the present, and today is a new day. Today is a good day, man. So it's definitely an honor to have you on board, man. I looked at, and I was telling you briefly, I always like to do my research on the artists and listen to their music, kind of get their vibe. And yeah, I want to hear a couple of things from you, brother. The significance of your name, first of all, I think is really dope. Can you break? Did somebody name you that? Is there a concept or reason for that name?
Yeah. So just a very brief background. I've been doing this for going on 24 years, right?
Wow.
So now I'm a true student of the game.
Yeah.
So coming up as a youngin, you rapping, you got your people who've been doing it before you. You got your old heads, and I was good at a young age, but I was never really given a true shot or given too much attention. And it would always throw people off when I would like start ripping, and they were like, "Yo, young boy, nice." But like after that, it was just like, "Oh yeah, nah, he can rap." But I was never given that chance. And then when I started going into the studio, I'm like, God, I recorded, bet. Like, yeah, y'all want to listen to this? And it turns out people be listening to my music, and like 30 seconds in, people start talking and shit. It's just like, damn, I ain't even giving the same respect as somebody that you may know. Like, y'all already writing me off, and you ain't even heard me yet. Fast forward here. You know what I mean? Fast forward to 2018, after my daughter was born, I took a little hiatus. I came back as MIC apostrophe.
Okay.
And, I had an EPL. And even then, it was still like, oh, yeah, nah, that's great. You got stuff on all streaming platforms. And that was pretty much it. You know what I mean? And then I took a break again. Break again, not because I was ever discouraged, right?
Okay.
And I took a break. I started a podcast, and then this girl that I was cool with, we were really cool. We started. She, I was her PR. And she was doing music and everything, and I'm like, damn, you know what? You're dope. Your pen is pretty dope. You know what? I think I'm gonna try coming back. And like you coming back as MIC, nah, it was there was too much toxicity tied to that. So I was like, you know what? My approach is going to be different. I'm like, I'm just going to start smacking people in their head with nothing but bars. And I'm like, all right, so they're going to be like, who's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Oh, that's just a nobody. And I'm like, oh, you know what?
That's
fine. So when you hear it, somebody was like, wait, but don't they got somebody named Nobody? I'm like, nah, there's no name. Like, isn't that similar? I'm like, nah, she doesn't have a name. She doesn't want to identify with no name. I'm like, me being Nobody, I'm literally coming out of left field. You don't know who this is that's snapping like that. So you're going to hear it, and you're going to be like, yo, who the hell is that? Oh, I'm listening to Nobody.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nobody. And because I'm a cerebral rapper, right? I'm a very lyrical and cerebral rapper. So, me, I got to put a double entendre even when I'm making my name.
Yeah.
So it's Knowbody. Why? Because you're going to get knowledge from the body, which is me. And it's going to make you be introspective when you're listening to music from now on. So you actually have to know body, which is your body. And you don't even know who I am. So you don't even know who the body is.
Who is the body is?
Yeah. So
I just caught it.
yeah. So I'm a Nobody. It's like a quadruple entendre.
Sheesh. It immediately, bro, it immediately made me do my research in Google's. I'm just telling you, I was like, yo, wait a minute. Why am I Googling nobody? That's somebody. Man, my head was spinning, but I get it. I get it. I think that's fine. That whole creative that's fine, bro. I was like, I got to start you off with that question, man, because I was like, that backstory to that makes sense now. It really ties it in a knot for me.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. West Philly, man. Tell me about West Philly. What's the temperature out there?
Well, physically it's hot as hell. But as far as the music scene goes,
Sure.
man, just the whole city, actually. You know what I mean? And I'm from Delaware County, man. Shout out to, Woodland, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from, born and raised. That's where I got, well, not born and raised. I was born in Chester, lived in Chester, but most of my upbringing was in Woodland. So shout out to Delco, shout out to Chester, shout out to Woodland. And, I've been in Philly for 8 years now, and I've been, really on the Philly music scene for a little over almost a year.
Okay.
But, as far as the temperature for the Philly music scene, man, they really do live up to their name as the city of brotherly love. Right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Nothing but love, nothing but free game, nothing but being embraced by a bunch of talented individuals, man. Like, never, none of the dudes have ever steered me wrong. There's no gatekeeping. There's no jealousy. There's no yes men. Like, I've dealt with, where I've rapped and I'm like, yo, I don't like the way this sounds. It sounds like I'm reading. And motherfuckers like, oh, nah, man, I thought you wanted to sound that way. What? I'm asking you how's it sound and you telling me it sounds good.
Okay, I got you.
So the Philly scene, they're like, yo, maybe if you try to what point were you trying to drive home? Like, it's like they help me really refine my pen.
I see.
Like, you know what I mean? So the temperature out here, man, let me see. It's like Turks and Caicos out here as far as the music scene goes, bro.
That makes sense.
Don't get it twisted though. Like, it's the temperature's nice, but it ain't no cool. It ain't sweet and it ain't a cool breeze. If your bars are trash, you ain't gonna be able to. You're not gonna survive.
Yeah,
you're not gonna survive, yo. You can't be one of these young bulls out here that's like, oh man, you mean I'm just trend chasing? Nah, Philly got spitters out here, like
oh yes,
spitters, real spitters. And if your pen ain't on par, you might as well hang it up, bro. Go to TikTok.
You'll be a TikTok rapper.
Yeah, nah, you ain't gonna make it out here.
My goodness,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, trending. You mean it's good because they got trendy rappers out here too? It's like a hub. It's like a hub. You know what I mean? Where there's spitters, you can make your name a name for yourself being trendy too. You know what I mean? Like,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, the music scene got a little bit of everything for everybody, but as far as on the side I'm at, we ain't nothing but heavy hitters on here.
Heavy hitters, man. You got this important showcase coming up. I want to plug this artist festival. I want to talk about that in September, bro. For you, how excited are you about this? About this event, and how do you prepare for something like this?
Well, we just had our Hi, My Name is Knowbody festival in May on the 16th. I was partnering with my wife, shout out to SLW Portraits. Go on the paint at Instagram if you want to follow her. Her and I collaborated on this. And, when I first started it out, at first, it really just started out as a notion, right? Like, oh, what if I did, Philly, I'm like, damn, it's really dope over here in Philly, and I'm literally from where I'm from, we're only 15 minutes away.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it's like, I'm like, all right, I'm like, damn, it's hot out here. Like, I love this out here. I wonder what would happen if I did this. So it started out as something like that. And then, I would pitch the idea to a couple of my homies and that would be dope. Then I talked to my wife and she's like, well, yeah, no, that would be crazy. I'm like, all right, well, now fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the amount of people that actually hopped on board because again, I'm a nobody. So I didn't expect the list of people. It was like 15 people. I only expected 5. So, we did it was just art. It was artists. There were singers, there was rappers, there were
Wow.
poets. My
Wow.
wife was live painting while her art was hanging up in the gallery. We were at the Urban Art Gallery. Man,
Mm.
listen, that it was it was a listen, it was a classic. It was one for the books.
Shoo.
And and I was like, damn, you know what? I had so many different people that wanted to get on the one in May. I'm like, dang, I'm kind of full, but I will be doing one in September. So
Nice, nice.
we're preparing for the one in September now. And based off of the feedback that I got and the turnout that I got, my wife and I have been sitting and
Mhm.
meticulously talking and trying to fine tune some of the things we may have missed from the last one.
Mhm.
Excuse
Mhm.
me. So, the one in September, we're looking at a bigger venue where we rounded it down to about 3 places. We should have the place booked
Mm.
soon, like really
Nice.
soon.
Mhm.
And, we're just looking to, piggyback and build off of the Hi, My Name is Nobody festival.
Sheesh.
Um, so the one in September is gonna be pretty dope. It's gonna be in the fall.
Mm.
It's gonna be, it's gonna be like the one in May, except it's gonna be
Bigger.
bigger, yeah, bigger and better,
Yes,
bigger and
sir.
better.
Yes, that's what's
And
up.
then, the purpose of Hi, My Name is Nobody's festival was not only me introducing myself and, introducing my wife, it was a whole network. It's a
Mhm.
whole networking thing. My whole thing is networking, right?
Mhm.
Because hip hop started out as a community. So, community driven genre. So it was always networking.
Mm.
So, my purpose for that was, it wasn't a showcase, it was like a festival. We had food, you know, we had, dancing and music in between each set and everything else. And, people connected because that's how I want it to be every time I perform. I ask
Network building.
people, yep, networking. That's what it is.
That's what's
So,
up, man.
yeah, the next one's going to be a big networking opportunity too, just because the way that this one took off, now it's got more people's attention.
Mhm. Mhm. Any updates or developments on the inaugural live over Beat Cypher? I know you have. I wanted to plug that as well, real quick, before we go on to the next couple of questions. But I guess you do something every year, and it's a live over Beat Cypher. Explain that. Break that
Um,
down for me, if you could.
so in August, right?
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is actually going to be the inaugural one at the end of August. And it's crazy because this is exclusive. I haven't even really talked to anybody about it yet. But if you're
Okay.
listening,
Okay.
listen, if you're listening, hey, you about to find out. So I was talking to my engineer, shout out to Rob, INR Studios, Ill Nation. I was talking to him and I was talking to a couple people about it. You know that Red Bull cipher with Av Soul, Big Sean,
I
and
know exactly what
Tony
you're talking
Taylor
about. Yep.
and
Yep.
the joint with the locks recently.
Yep.
I said, yo, I think I want to try something like that.
Whoa.
So him and I are getting that together right now.
Nice.
I'm going over the pricing. We looked at the space. The space is perfect. Like I've been
Mhm.
at that studio for years, so that's home. So
Mhm.
we know the exact area we're going to be in. My next step is to just reach out to a couple MCs. I think and instead of it being, every year, I think I'm gonna try to do it every 3 months, right?
Okay.
Because it's going to be 4 MCs. It's going to be called the MC's Den,
Got you.
right?
Okay.
So it's going to be, we're going to have it rapping over the live beat. And, that's just going to be another avenue for spitters to be able to showcase their pen. You know what I mean? Not
Mhm.
just their talents and their gimmicks. It's going to be a joint where you got to showcase your pen. And if you look at the template, the last, the last 6 people that we know that famously did this was
Mhm.
was the Locks, Joey Badass, Big Sean, and Ab Soul. But to take it further back, the
Mhm.
BET Hip Hop Awards did that. They used to
Ah,
do
you're right.
the BET Hip Hop Awards used to have the ciphers, and I used to be
Mhm.
locked in. I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, this is dope. So somebody came and then Red Bull did that. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take it a little more grassroots, and I'm gonna bring it here. You know what I mean?
Woo!
I want it to be something where people are like, yeah, let's go. Yo, you been to the MCs then? Yeah, come on, slide on through, but don't come in there with no trash, bro.
Oh
Come in that
yeah.
joint with no trash. Yes, you
That's
know.
what's up, man. And you're a big advocate of the youth, bro, in the community. And listening to you now, for real, you putting people on, bro. You're giving people opportunities. You're creating spaces. You know what I'm saying? How big is you with working with the youth and the community? How much does that mean to you?
I'm an educator.
Yes, sir.
I look at how I grew up, what I grew up around, where I grew up, right? I
Mhm.
look at some of my homies that were in the Bing, some of them that ain't even here no more.
Mm.
And I look at how our old heads and our OGs used to sit and talk to us. They
Mhm.
used to spit game to us. Mind you, I grew up in a house full of women, but I always had old heads and I always used to look at my mom
Mhm.
for my examples of how I should carry myself, not as a man, but as a person,
Mhm.
right? I learned that with the absence of a man, what a man should be, because clearly niggas didn't know how to act and they
Mhm.
weren't good men, and that's why they not here. So I'm like, okay, if that's what's
Mm.
lacking, and that's why they not here, then I need to be what my, what my mom, what my mom, you know, didn't get, or what
Mhm.
my aunt didn't get. You know what I'm saying? Or my sister. And I'm like, I go out and I'm talking to my old heads are giving me game on what it means to be a man outside the house. Like, yo, stay away from this. Nah, you don't want to end up in prison, bro. You're not built for that. You're not
Mhm.
cut from this
Mhm.
cloth. You're not built. And you mean I done seen a lot of things. I done dealt with a lot of things.
Mhm.
But it's always been, if it wasn't my old heads, it was my homies telling me, yo, listen, this ain't
Just
you,
saying
bro.
that. Yeah, I
This
see.
ain't it, bro. You need to move. It's about to get live around here.
I see.
So, looking at that, that was from my youth.
Mhm.
When I became an educator, I'm like, listen, I'm not only scholastically smart,
Mhm.
I know, you know what I mean? I know the streets. I
Mhm.
know them. I tell my nephew and them, there's two different types of hood niggas.
Mhm.
The ones that's in the field, and there's the ones that aren't in the field.
Sheesh.
They both know the street, bro. They both know it. One isn't in the field because they decided not to be there, or
Mhm.
people kept them away from it. And then there's the ones that are in the field because they didn't have the guidance to not be there, or they
Mhm.
had to be there to survive.
To survive. Yes, sir. Mhm.
I said,
Mhm.
so don't, I educate, but in the same breath, these kids nowadays, everything's TikTok. I'm always hearing drill music. I'm always hearing,
Mm.
maybe, yo, remember when you used to be, when they used to shun you
Oh
for
God. Yes, sir.
for 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 throwing up gang signs, bro? You remember that,
Yes,
right? They used to
sir.
be
That
like,
was an
yo,
era.
don't do
That
that.
was an era. Yes, sir.
Yeah, bro. They'd be like, yo, don't be around here throwing
Don't even
gang
be
signs.
around. Yes,
Bro,
sir.
yo,
You get disciplined and put a check for that.
real rap, bro. You end up catching a wiggy by
Yes.
mistake, bro. Like,
Yes, sir.
yo, these young bulls now, man, they be listening to music and throwing up gang
And
signs.
don't even know what they throwing up.
I'm like, bro, we in Delaware County. Why you throwing the six up? What the hell? You live in a 3-level house in the county. What are you doing, bro? Like
Eesh. Yeah.
you're not built for that. Like I gotta
Mindset,
interrupt.
man. Mm, mm,
Right, I
mm.
gotta interrupt my curriculum. Like, yo, hold up. Hold up. Stop.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing this, bro. We're not doing this, bro. Turn
Man.
the music down or turn the music off. Like, oh, you just mad because you just hating. I'm like, first of all, besides the fact that I could wrap circles around them in my sleep on my worst day, they they perpetuating a stereotype and projecting a life that you
Mhm.
know
There's
nothing about, or
absolutely
they don't
nothing.
even know nothing about. 9 times out of 10, they running around with like a dozen
Mhm.
bodyguards, bro.
Mm,
They
mm,
not built
mm,
like that either.
mm.
So my whole purpose and what I'm doing with my music to try and not only bring a community together is to bridge the gap between generations,
Nice.
right? Because a lot of it gets lost in translation.
Mhm.
You know how it is. We used to listen to some of the stuff our old heads would say, and then we wouldn't, because it's like, old head, you really talking like, dog, we ain't trying to listen to that. This ain't 1965, nigga.
Yeah.
Like, we not trying to hear that. So I'm trying to bridge the gap with my music.
Mhm.
And the fact that this generation is, hip hop and rap is now the biggest genre of music in the world because it's the youngest one,
Oh, yes.
right? So now everybody has their hands in hip hop, which means these young kids, they love rap music. And if they hear that you rap, they don't care how old you are.
Mhm.
They don't recognize generational. They just know that you rap. So when they
Mhm.
find out I rap, they're like, yo, how many listeners you got? Or how many followers you got? And then I'm like, nah, I'm on all streaming platforms. Then when they can find me, it blows their mind. Like, oh, snap. Yeah, you definitely on here. So now I can sit and bridge that gap between, you know what I mean? What knowledge I'm trying to give you while I'm spitting these bars, and now we connected on a whole different level. Before they could found out I could rap, they was like, all right, he kind of cool. When they found out I rap, bro, they was attached to my hip.
There
now
you
they
go.
on my hip. Now they listening to everything I say, bro. Now they following me. You ever been to TLA? You ever did? Nah, I ain't did none of that, but you know. Oh, you should probably try. Like, oh man, you should probably try to get on here. You should probably try to get on this. Like, yeah, now I got them locked in. So now while you listening to my music, now I can go ahead and give you game on why these books are important.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Teach you financial literacy.
There you go. There you go.
That. So using my music to get the community together, but also bridge the gap between the disconnect between generations. Because our kids, man, they got our kids with not a leg to stand on. You gotta think about where you going to college and middle school, bro.
Yes, sir.
There's no lag now.
Yeah.
There's no lag where it used to be.
Yeah.
Now you gotta know in like 7th grade where you go into college. And I'm like, they feed you to the wolves. So as an educator, I'm like, listen, we got the curriculum and we can go ahead and do math, English, and science, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop a couple real life gems to y'all real quick.
Yeah.
So,
stuff that can actually apply.
Yes. So it's, that's where we at with it. And with my music in the community.
That's what's up, man. My final question for you is a very important question, is fatherhood. You know, me as us as Black men, it's very important of how we carry ourselves and what we represent. For you, like you said, you are an educator, you are a musician, of course, you're an artist, you are a visionary, as well, because you have vision and you're putting people on as well too. But we also wear this important hat as well too as parents. How do you balance it all? And are you literally trying to leave a legacy for your children? What are you representing and trying to install in them when it comes to career, entrepreneur, music, education? How do you, balance that out?
I balance that out by 3 things. Accountability, growth, and self-love. Because, and I guess you could tie accountability and self-love together. Because my daughter, I always tell her, the only expectation daddy has of you is to be the best that you can be. Not the best that you think I want you to be. The best that you can be.
That's good.
The only expectation I have is for you to exceed the expectations of yourself. If I know that you're doing the best that you possibly can do, and trust me, I'm your father, so I know. If you give your all to anything you put your mind to, then you can't fail.
There you go.
You can't fail yourself. You can't fail yourself if you put your best foot forward. And if you fail, that only means that you need to grow. Sometimes you may fail something and it may not be so you could try it again to be better at it. You may just fail because, okay, it's trial and error. Okay, this isn't where I need to be. So now you grow from that. Now you're like, okay, I know this about myself. I know how I will react. I know how I will apply myself. Like accountability. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're my child. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you are, I need you to stand. This generation loves saying stand 10 toes.
Yes, sir.
If you're gonna stand 10 toes, cool, own it. Own it. If you're wrong, own it. You know what I'm saying? You messed up, you need to own it. But don't dwell in it. Don't let it sit and fester and turn into something. Own your mistake, own what you did, the good and the bad, and keep it pushing.
That's right.
Keep it pushing. Because, and always realize that nobody gonna love you better than you can love yourself.
Man.
Nobody's gonna love you better than you can love yourself. period. Because,
Period.
and I think and we're at a crucial age, and with the middle school kids where they're learning that,
Mhm.
right? Where
Mhm.
they learning it, I got a couple students that really love themselves, and they're like, oh, they just don't care. No, it ain't that they just don't care. They're so in tune and love with themselves, and they know who they are, that
Mm.
it doesn't matter what you say or matter what anybody thinks about them, because if you know who you really are, if
Mhm.
you know what you stand for, if you know if you know what type of purpose that you're trying to have in this life, it doesn't matter. If you love yourself enough to know that you need to grow, if you love yourself enough to know that you're wrong,
Mm.
and you want to build off of that, having a growth mindset to not just listen to respond, but listen to hear and understand. That includes just listening to yourself, your
Mhm.
intuition, your gut.
Mhm.
Then there's no way that you can fail at life. You can fail a lot of things because it's like yin and yang. It's like light and dark. It's like chaos and peace. One can't exist without the other.
Without the other.
Success cannot happen without failure. So if you fail, that doesn't mean that you failed at life. That just means that you're learning. Failure is
Mm.
nothing more than you learning.
Yes.
Failure is not the end. Failure is the beginning of something else. What is Semisonic is saying, every new beginning comes
Mm.
from some other beginning's end.
Ah, I like that. That's a good note to end
So
it.
yeah, so that's how I balance it,
Mhm.
fatherhood and my music and all my relationships. Of course, fatherhood has that little extra, lenient
Mm.
side to me because, that's my heart, that's my world. Just
Mhm.
like my 9-month-old son. Like
Mhm.
right now, we're starting to teach him little things here and there. Like, okay, we don't hit,
Mhm.
we don't. Okay, gentle hands, gentle hands. As we ain't telling them no from the rip because of the negative connotations with
Mhm.
no. Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, we can ease you in the no, but in the same breath, we're still telling him you
Mhm.
cannot. There's a better way to do this.
There's a
Like, you
better
always
way.
do that.
Yeah.
Instead of telling you no, 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 because you drill that into a kid's head,
Sheesh.
that's the first thing that they're gonna have in their mind when they
Mhm.
do something around an adult and an adult asks them a question. The first thing that they're gonna do is they're gonna shy away and be like, uh-oh,
Mhm.
nah, I don't want that's not how I teach my children. That's not how I'm going to teach these kids in these schools. That's not how I'm going to teach the young boys on the street.
Yeah.
Like, so, with everything I deal with, in my life, my music, my job, my businesses, people that I work out with in the gym or even play ball with,
Mhm.
like, you know, I I I try to use the same approach for everybody, right?
Mhm.
Because of course, it isn't gonna work. Everything, your approach doesn't the same approach doesn't work for everybody, the same way,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Everybody thinks that, oh, this approach isn't gonna work on everybody. Nah, I guess how you approach with the approach, if you get what I'm saying. Like, so
Mhm.
for me, for people that I work with in music, the only difference between them and my students is, okay, well, you may misunderstand where I'm going with this. So let me break it down for you. So it's not like, I'm not taking your advice. I'm not getting offended, but let me give you a better understanding. The only difference between them and my students is I'm telling my students, okay, listen. So I see what you're saying, and I see that you're trying to articulate the point that you're trying to get. But what I'm
Mhm.
trying to tell you is that there's a different way that you could do it, right? And
Mm.
so it's not how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it,
There you go.
right?
There you go.
So the I guess you could say work-life balance
There you go. That's
is
what it
is
is.
you that's how I do my work-life balance. And surprisingly, that's how my daughter handles things. And
Mhm.
she's 12 in
Mm.
6th grade, and that's how she's handling things.
Mhm.
So, is and she plays the cello, she sings, she acts, she just got
Wow.
in the cheer. So
Wow.
like her whole mindset is, she has a little bit of myself and her mother, but I see that she has become her own person. And that comes from her watching me, watching her mother, and listening to, like I said, the same approach I take with everything else is just going to be a little bit more intense, but nurturing with my own child, whether, in contrast to if I'm at school or if I'm at the studio, right? And, I teach her also that you're not for everyone.
There you go.
You are not for everyone, right? That ties into that self-love. You are not for everyone. And that's not something that, oh, you learn as a kid and that's it. Now we're learning it as adults too. Like for myself, I just, in the past couple of years, I've learned that even me being as a good a friend or whatever as I am to people, I got to realize I'm not for everyone, right? I'm not, how I may approach things may not be for everybody. And, that was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. But, you know, kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that they're not for everyone. And that's another reason I chose the name Knowbody.
Well-spoken words from a king, man.
Right. Because I'm not for
I appreciate
everybody.
that. I appreciate that, man. We got to get ahead and wrap it up, man. I appreciate this. This just gems literally that you sharing with us, bro. My pen was moving as you was talking. I'm sitting there like, what the world? Accountability. We're gonna wrap it up. Self-love. We're gonna give them growth, and we also gonna make sure we support the EP. Make sure y'all look out for my brother's festivals and the stuff that he got going on. The shows literally he got going on as well too. He got some collaborations with the wife and Stardom Magazine. Is my guy Knowbody, of course, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you tapping into the platform and choosing us and being with us tonight and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your music and your craft with our audience.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. If anybody out there listening to me, you can follow me on Instagram at 3ye_M_KNOWBODY. That's Knowbody. Who? Knowbody. Go ahead and stream that the EP on all platforms out right now, and stay tuned for more music coming. Shout out to Stardom Magazine. I appreciate you, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to give a quick shout out to my wife. I want to give a big shout out to my family because that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest staple that's keeping me going in my music. I want to give a shout out to the whole city of Philly. You know what I mean? I want to shout out my man Rob, Spady, Hadiak, I know Brosco, and my man CSW. Those were the people that have been pivotal. Oh, my man Prophet, because he does the Poppy Store Cypher. They have been pivotal and, pushing me to stay motivated and keep that pen working. But just, my heart's full, man. And I
appreciate you. I appreciate you. It's Stardom101 Magazine Podcast here on iHeartRadio. You guys make sure you come back next week, same time, same place, same energy, different guests. Nobody was in the building. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'll have his platforms and his channels and his social media information in the show notes of his link. Plug up and connect with him. And once again, support him as he continues to do his thing on the rise. It's Stardom101 Magazine. It's Knowbody. We are gone. Peace.
Are you on the rise to stardom? Well, get featured in the next issue of Stardom101 Magazine and promote your business or products today. Text MAG to 804-550-8647 or visit stardom101mag.net.
You're listening to the Stardom101 Magazine Podcast with Christopher Boykin. Be sure to subscribe and download this episode, and continue to listen to Stardom on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.